Hi, I'm Dave Isbell, Alumni Career Service Coordinator, Michigan State University. Usually I have as a partner with me Lisa Parker, and we just have candid conversations about whatever comes up. Today I brought in Scott Westerman, our director of the Alumni Association, or as he likes to say, our head servant. And I really wanted to pick his brain about a lot of things, but I'm going to try to keep this short. And so one of the things that Scott always says is that working at the Alumni Association is not a job, it's a lifestyle. And I love that. I love it. And I just thought I would have Scott talk about what that means and how do you get there? How do you get to a point from moving beyond seeing something as a job to building a lifestyle around it?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, I really believe that life is about bracketing, understanding, and chasing happiness. It's not about success. Success is a term that's much maligned and has many definitions, most of which are incorrect. To me, success equals happiness. So figuring out what that is and then finding a way to get paid to do it is what life's all about. The interesting thing about happiness is that it's constantly evolving in our lives based upon our experience. One of the things Dave is so good about in his counseling when he talks with folks is to keep that wide peripheral vision out there, because sometimes your passion may actually exist in a place where you least expect to find it. A funny thing happens once you really do bracket what your passion is, and that is that the doors seem to open. You've heard the phrase, a teacher will appear when you're ready for it. And that's what happens when you start to figure that out. You start to see the world a little bit differently. And if you can find a way to actually express your passion and get paid for it, that is the ideal job. So how do we begin to find that? I mean, the first thing is to spend some real quality time thinking about the times in your life when you were truly happy. What were you doing then? What were the things that were the essence of what that was? And is there a way to distill that into a career plan? Once you've been able to do that, and the second thing to do, something Dave taught me, and that is first where, then what. It's kind of a change on Jim Collins' first who, then what thing in the great book, Do Good, Do Great. First where means to think about where it is you want to work first. And why that's important is because the most important thing about a company is how well it meshes with you and your personal brand. Really, in our world, we have a personal brand that we align for a time with another organization or another individual if it's a partnership, or if you're an entrepreneur with an idea. And the young generation that are graduated from Michigan State University today will align their personal brands with 6, maybe a dozen different companies over the course of a career. Unlike, I was probably an outlier because I had about 6 of them myself, but most of them haven't. Most of us haven't, right? I mean, we get educated and we kind of move in the direction.
Stay in your career, yeah.
Often
people think that's how it works.
Well, and often in a direction that we had nothing really to do about. Our parents tell us what it is, or our friends tell us you'll be darn good at that, Dave. You ought to try that out. So we say maybe we should. But once you understand what it is you love, the company that most espouses that philosophy is really important. Once you've done that, then what you do is you just do your homework. It's like anything that you're really passionate about. Somebody told me once that you need to become an expert in anything, you spend 10,000 hours doing that. I would say at least expend 1% of that amount of time in preparing for your conversation with the company about how you might be able to serve them. Because what happens, as we all know, is that companies don't hire people. They hire problem solvers. They hire folks that can bring solutions to challenges that they have. So naturally, what you want to do is you want to understand the company very, very deeply to know who their competitors are, what their mission is, what their main product or services that they sell, what are the biggest challenges they face. Do a SWOT analysis. What are their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? And then once you've done that, figure out how you can, through your skill sets, be able to make a contribution, a positive contribution to move them forward. In many ways, Dave, I think this kind of relationship is the thing that happens when you're trying to build a really good friendship or even a soulmate situation. Mm-hmm. You want to understand what it is that really meshes about the two of you, whether it's a company or a person, that can really make 1 and 1 become 1,000. That's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And when you constantly work at that, good things happen.
Yep, I like that analogy. In fact, what you just did in 5 minutes or however long we've been talking was summarized exactly how I coach, and I don't know, I did not ask Scott to do that at all. And he really espoused the philosophy that I have, and it is, I love the metaphor of your career is like a relationship, it's like a marriage. And one of the things that Scott does really well, if you don't mind me bringing up some personal in your personal life, he has date night. Every week he has date night with Colleen, and that's a protected space. And so what if you did that with your career? What if while you're in your job that is just paying the bills, what if you made a date night for your career? What if you went out and made that relationship that Scott was talking about, spent the time and been very intentional about, serving and honoring that company and doing something with that company to build intimacy, I guess, for lack of a better word, with that company, so that you're really well known and so that you're appreciated. And it's not about you trying to get something out of the equation or anything like that. It's just for the pure enjoyment of spending time around people that are doing something that you also love to do.
Well, one of the things I tell my friends and my kids is, once you start that relationship, never ever stop doing the things you did to win that person in the first place. And we spend a lot of time trying to convince people to hire us for a job or to allow us to join their company. And then once you get in there, oftentimes with the press of daily business, you forget to do those things. That value add that you tried to bring every day if you were doing the right kind of career preparation. And date night is a metaphor for that. Every place I've ever worked, that's been part of my deal. Everybody understands Wednesday night at 5, I'm out of here, because that's the Queen's night. And Wednesday is actually a good night to do that, because if you think about how your week works, by Wednesday you need to disconnect for a little while and remind yourself while you're working.
Yeah, exactly. And that's perfect. So it's not just about the courtship, it's also about tending to the marriage. So when you're there and you're with that job, you spend that time. You spend the time of building relationships. You spend the time of bringing something to the other party and not just trying to get all the time. And a lot of us, it's real easy just to fall into that trap. So you want to know how to build your career? Mark this as a favorite post, because Scott just threw out a whole bunch of stuff that you could unpack for a long time. Is there anything else that you want to say in summary?
Well, I think one thing that can sometimes be different in a career than in a marriage is that you may outgrow the relationship. And a good company will encourage you to do that. If they really want to keep you, they'll try and find ways that you can continue to add value. But the best bosses will tell you, look, I'm really about your happiness, and as long as your happiness is in sync with what we need to do, I want you here. But the minute it isn't, let's work together to find a way that you can express that somewhere else. One of the best pieces of advice I got from a boss was right here in Lansing years ago when I was a marketing guy for Continental Cablevision, and I hit the ceiling of the comp, and I needed to earn more. I had a young family, and I said, I have more to offer this company. He said, yes, you do. And I said, why can't you pay me more? And he says, because that's what this job pays. What you need to do is figure out how you can add more value in a way that you enjoy. And once I started thinking about that, it was a whole different vista, and it started me down the road that brought me here to Michigan State University.
And we're very glad that you're here.
Dave, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Scott. Have a great week, guys.